Hassan Abqari. I'm really honored to speak on behalf of Changermed about this very important subject, which is the impact of infrastructure in general on the development, economical and social development. It's a quite a difficult subject because there is no real measuring system or metrics today in the academic research that can help us assess exactly what is this impact in general for the projects we know. The case of Changermed is very particular because it's a project that started from scratch. It's a pure greenfield project. We had nothing there except a beach before starting this project, and we have seen from the empirical point of view how all this very region, I speak about north of Morocco, which have been let within, let's say, during more than 30 years without any major investment, and that have changed drastically from, let's say, a very nice view to an industrial and port platform that is ranked today the first in the Mediterranean and in Africa. So let's start presenting a little bit what are the real advantages of this project. First thing, the strategic location. This very location on the Strait of Gibraltar, which is exactly at the crossroad of major shipping lanes and at doorstep of Europe, have given to Morocco the possibility to anchor the country to the Euro-Mediterranean space or area. This very location is just 7 miles or 14 kilometers from Europe, meaning that we are at less than 1 hour of navigation between Tangermed and the port of Algeciras, which is the closest port in in Spain, and at the crossroad, as I said, of major shipping lanes with zero deviation, meaning that a vessel that is used to call in the Mediterranean port it's very easy for this kind of vessel to add this port of Tangermed in their route, because usually they pass at less than 3 miles from this port. So this infrastructure had this first advantage, which is the location. The second one was it's an integrated project that encompasses the port first and then the activity zones all around. And third thing is the connecting infrastructure, railway and road that helped connect the port to the hinterland too. Because if we have just constructed the port without these two other components, the result will be just like an island in the middle of the ocean to serve the interest as a platform of transshipment to serve the interest of major shipping companies without any direct advantage to the hinterland itself. So the connecting infrastructure that have cost something like 7 million euros initial investment from the government just help this infrastructure to have a huge impact on the northern region of Morocco and to help develop all the activity zones around it and also the deep hinterland. If we consider that the railway, for example, the railway terminal that is just behind both container terminal can carry a container from the port to the region of Marrakesh in 1 day. And if we consider that the usual transit time between China and Morocco was about 50 days initially before Tangermed. And now, thanks to this very infrastructure, it just dropped to 25 days, plus 1 day to go to Marrakesh, let's say. So it's exactly 50% of the total transit time that have been reduced thanks to this facility, which is a deep sea port connected to worldwide, to 180 ports around the world in 80 countries. And you managed to reduce by 50% also the cash-to-cash cycle, the time to market, and we just have managed from day one to give to all these companies in the deep hinterland a potential of growth of almost 20% without moving anything, just thanks to the railway that connects the national network through the city of Tangier to Tangermed, and then deep inside the country until to Marrakesh and hope further in the next future. This very location has also some economics and metrics that are proper to this location. It's the third in the world today between the Panama Canal and the Strait of Malacca in terms of volume of traffic. We have over 100,000 container ships that are crossing the Strait of Gibraltar yearly basis. That means that we have almost something like 20 or 60 million TEUs. TEUs stands for 20 equivalent unit containers that are at your doorstep, and you can manage to attract them, to create value, to process the goods and re-export from the location of Tangier. I'm speaking about the whole northern region of Morocco today. Also, the 200 million tons of hydrocarbon that are crossing the strait and that allow us also to receive, to store, to process, to mix for a lot of kind of business models. For example, in Tangier you can buy bunkers, so it's a real one-stop shop for the vessels. You can also have a strategic storage, which is the case today in terms of white products. And we can also do some trading, which also is the case sometimes when it's, the product is available, storing and reselling when the market is in contango or when the economics of this business also permit it. And the latest point, which is not the less important, is 6 million people who are crossing the strait on annual basis between the peninsula, the Spanish peninsula, and the African continent, through Tangier Med facility today, which is our nominal capacity. Today is the first port in the Mediterranean, but it's a real story behind this thing. It's not, anyone can make the investment and build a port. If you have the money, the know-how is available, you can buy it, you can have consulting services, and you can do it. But to put a port on the map is the real issue here, because you have two major challenges. First one is linked to human resources. The vessel who is calling in your infrastructure today maybe was yesterday in Japan or was in Rotterdam. So they are used to a certain standard of service, and you have to match it from day one. And this, I think, this was the major challenge that have been faced by the Tangier Med teams, because the location, which plays a major role, as I said, was not, didn't came from our intelligence. It was the decision of His Majesty, the King Mohammed VI, may God assist him, who had this bold vision to put this port in this very location against maybe the advice of our engineers who were preferring to go to the Atlantic facade because it's easy to build behind. We have no mountains just behind the port, and it's less expensive. But the fact to put this port here was playing a major role in the success story we are saying today. Second thing is, during 2008, the decision to expand the port and to build Tangier Med 2 came again from our king, because it was, as you know, a period of crisis in 2008, economic crisis and financial one, and nobody in the Mediterranean basin was ready to make any investment. And we received this decision to do it at that time. And this was really a key differentiator in terms of our strategy, because first, when you build during crisis, it's less expensive because companies want to work with you. They are seeking work and jobs. And second thing is that once the crisis arrives to an end, you are the only operator who has something to offer on the market. And this was what happened to us in 2019, where the world business and logistics required more space and capacity to transship containers in the north of Morocco. Tangier Med was the only operator who had something to offer in a supply market, a supply type market. 24th container worldwide, just from 2007 to today. I mean, only 13 years after the start. which is quite an achievement, according to Alpha Liner ranking of this year, and also the first port in Africa after 4 consecutive years. Okay, second thing, which is a very important asset when I was speaking about putting a port on the map, that means that you have the capability to convince the major shipping lines to come and set a business in your premises. Investing in terminals, buying handling equipment, and starting to operate from your location. And thanks to the, let's say, the dynamism of TangerMed teams, we have managed to attract the biggest players today in the maritime world. All the alliances are present today in TangerMed with the biggest players in the world, first, second, and third. I'm speaking about Maersk Line, speaking about CMA, CGM, Hamburg Sud, speaking about all the players that are today having a real footprint in the West Med and in the Atlantic area. As I said, Asia, TangerMed, 20 days. African ports on the western facade of Africa helped TangerMed. Today, TangerMed is connected to more than 40 ports in 24 countries. And that represents almost 35% of our total throughput in terms of containers. This also made TangerMed or Morocco as the real gate to Africa today. So it reduced the costs for logistics for these countries, which were using a transshipment hub in Northern Europe or inside the Mediterranean Sea, and enhanced two things: the direct connection and the frequency of the departures. This also plays a major role in terms of total transit time when you are developing businesses in those countries. Some figures for last year. So the port reached the figure of 5.7 million TEUs, ranking first, as I said, in the Mediterranean. 358,000 new vehicles. This is due also to COVID, because in a couple of years before, TangerMed already passed the bar of 500,000 cars that are produced in the neighborhood, in the Renault-Nissan plant at 25 kilometers from the port, and in Casablanca and Kenitra. All those car makers are relying on TangerMed facilities today to export all their production. 2.7 million passengers that also help to connect Morocco to of course, to Europe. And one very important figure is this 357,000 trucks. This is a figure that started from 160,000 in 2010, and with a growth of 2 digits, 10% growth every year. We are expecting to end up this year with about 400,000. But this very activity has a meaning. Morocco have chosen to operate for some activities that require fast production and fast delivery to the countries of destination. It's the case of automotive sector, for instance. Automotive sector requires a tensed logistics. You cannot store in a plant of cars. You cannot store for 2 months. You cannot store even for 1 week. You store for 2 or 3 days. That means that you can make your procurement in a very short period of time, and to avoid having that much money blocked in your production system. It's also the case for the fast fashion. Today, for example, we can receive the goods from Europe on Monday and do the export by the end of the week, changing the models and operating on these markets that cannot be, it's not possible to compete with this kind of system if you want to produce in South Asia, for instance. So the fast fashion and the short logistics help Morocco to develop this activity. And thanks to the Roro passenger port, that help us today organize up to 48 departures during high season. That means one departure every half an hour, with vessels that can carry up to 300 cars. That means that you have up to 600 cars on 14 kilometers on every hour. That means that it's a car every 25 meters. It's a real bridge that has been set between Morocco and Europe, and the goods are flowing normally on 24/7 thanks to this facility. And it's translated by this huge number and this growth, steady growth of 10% every year. Also, we have some, of course, as I said, some markets in which we today are really, this infrastructure is really necessary to help them expand and even exist. Speaking about textile, with the fast fashion, the automotive sector, aeronautics, electronics, and the agribusiness, almost 50% or 53% of the production of the Agadir region flows to Tanger Med and travels with trucks, refrigerated trucks, to Spain and to France. Some of the names of the main operators that are present in Tanger Med today, we trusted the country first, the company second, and the project third. For container terminals, we have AP Moller Terminal, are leading in the world today. Eurogate with Siemens CGM. We have Hapag-Lloyd, Maersk, and Siemens CGM as maritime lines. We have an Emirati company operating in Tanger Med today. It's Horizon Terminal Limited. It's a group between three companies, a local Moroccan company named Africa, and IPG Group. IPG stands for Independent Petroleum Group. It's a trading company who deals with hydrocarbons and which is also installed in this very location. We have also Renault Nissan and the PSA Group that changed to be Stellantis now. And for towing services, we have Pfizer, which is a branch of Maersk Line, and Bolida Lines, who are leading in this business in the Mediterranean. For the short sea shipping connections to Europe that today are required for the businesses like agricultural products, textile, and automotive, you can reach, for example, Spain, Madrid in less than 18 hours. We can reach Paris in less than 48 hours. So this helped also develop a new logistics model or business model in the neighborhood of Tanger Med, which is pure logistics world to world. People are today importing goods from Asia, for instance, doing the packaging, ticketing in the port itself, in the region, in a zone called MedHub, which sharing the same port perimeter with the port, and exporting by truck or by container to these locations. The industrial platform that have been presented on the last week or beginning of the week. So today, this group of areas that are dedicated to different activities help Tanger Med be ranking first economic zone in Africa by the Financial Times, second economic zone in the world also by the Financial Times, and it corresponds to these 6 activity zones. Industrial competitiveness platform, and here I will get back to the impact, the social impact of infrastructure. I think that the metrics we can keep in mind are job opportunities, creation of job, maybe the cost of logistics, new activities or foreign direct investments, also the participation of the national GDP that can be produced in the area. And we can see that some of the metrics today can help show how this project have impacted positively all the neighborhood. 1,100 active company that set a business in Tanger Med neighborhood, 90,000 industrial jobs, 2,000 hectares of developed zone, and a reserve of 5,000 hectares today, identified and belonging to Tingermed. Industrial activity sectors also is well represented in all these sectors. Automotive, with the Tier 1 providers for Renault, Nissan, and PSA. Electronics, with the Furukawa, for example, TE Connectivity, and so on, so on. In logistics, we have 4 or 5 of the big operators in the world, like DHL, Nippon Express, Seva, Bolloré. Aeronautics, textile, agribusiness, paramedics, packaging, offshoring, and renewable energy. And thank you for your attention.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Je vais présenter en français, mais je pense que mon exposé sera en anglais.
In the name of God Almighty, I'll be talking and speaking in French, but my presentation will be in English, as you can see. Donc, I will be talking about on the state of the ONCF, and we'll be talking about the infrastructure and the projects development in Morocco. Allow me first to thank all the organizers for choosing this topic. It's a good opportunity for us as well to share with you all the réussites et les gains qu'on a déjà achevé durant this last decade, and in terms of long-term achievements, in terms of rail system and rail development in Morocco. Before starting to speak about this topic, it's important to talk about the profile of the ONCF and to explain a little bit or describe the governance of the rail system in Morocco. The rail network in Morocco is regulated and managed by the Office for Rail Management, which was established in 1963, and it was a result of the state taking over this company and running it. The office runs under tutelage of the Minister of Finance and Economy and the Finance Ministry, and it coordinates its plays as a joint role between or as a bridge between the ministries and the authority that runs this sector. The length of this line is 4,010 kilometers. It has 6,500 employees, 650 rail cars, and in terms of classification of this rail system, and at the international level, we are ranked at the 33 graded at 33 rank, and we are the first at the African level, this classification was established based on the quality and of the services and the speed of this network. It's serving 33,000 passengers per year, and the contribution to the GDP is 7.8. Many achievements have been achieved during the last 20 years. Since the achievements during 2000, 2009 and 2010, 2018 was based on the improvement of services and the launching of projects of expansion. And during 2010, 2018, this is a period that has experienced the radical transformation and the development of the sector in Morocco, as well with an increase in investments in the sector, which has was multiplied by three times, which has increased 3 times from 1996 to 2009, and 5 times during 2010, 2018. To talk about the investments in this sector, I would like to talk more in length during the last decade. 5 billions of dollars were investis sur le premier projet. C'est le projet du support territorial, economic and social development. 2 billion on responding to change demand and expectations, and the impact has been well and evident, well seen and evident on the profitability and the productivity. A more enhanced productivity of the network. This diagram or this picture illustrates la route, le trajet fait par les régions couvertes par ce réseau, et comme vous pouvez voir, il y a le nombre des trajets à multiplier par 3 entre Kenitra et Casablanca. Et aussi, on a vu la naissance des centres en Benguiri et Marrakech et en d'autres lieux. Ces projets ont été lancés. These projects were launched during this 2010-2018. The impact of were multi-sided, and we can evidently see this impacts on the fabric of the economy itself, and the economy in terms of accidents on the roads, aussi, as well as on the environmental level, as well sur the intangible capital, just like doubled, as well as on the economic effects on the other Moroccan companies and the local redeployment and the victims avoided per year. Donc, the impact, there have been impacts as well on other. So in Marrakech, the number of passengers has doubled, and as well in Tanger. This will rack during the first year of operation, 3 million of passengers. And which is equivalent to 10,000 passengers per day, and it has registered a 40% of of increase and the public satisfaction or the passenger sector passenger satisfaction has reached or stands at 89.10%. Nous avons le neuvième, we have been ranked the ninth country to have the fastest trail network, and sixième, ranked 6th and the 9th at the world level. We have experienced as well the 90% increase in the punctuality rate, and an increase in passenger satisfaction by 21% between Casa and Marrakesh. And that's in the terms of the reputation and in terms of organizational quality. These were the investments that were made during the last decade. To talk about the future, the future was established on a prospective research, and we have established many pillars, and we have established a voluntary politic in order to invest in the trail system, in order to improve the service of the whole network and the infrastructure across Morocco, and taking inspiration from the allocution of His Majesty, which has set the direction for the development of the infrastructure in Morocco. This research ont débuté depuis 2010 et s'étend and are expanded or stretched until 2040. And there are many factors were determined, key factors which will have a great impact on urbanization rate, on the households and the population and the demographic changes as well. The urbanization, as we can see, in terms of in 2040 will reach 69%. The population will experience an increase in demand of 310 by year, and the mobility will reach up to 80%. All these elements have proved that there is a reconfiguration of the territory was based on two elements: the creation of the deux centres for the mobility and the circulation, and currently we have in a dozen of hubs, which and these 10 hubs ensure the service are provided, or service of this relay system is provided across the country. These elements allows to serve a new extension of 1,200 kilometer, 3,800 of conventional network, and 172 kilometer of port connections. This represent around 0.8 of GDP per year, and this is humble in comparison with what's happening in other countries. When we talk about the investment in infrastructure, les chiffres reach up to 3%, but as we said, our investments were on voluntary basis. In terms of the regions, all these dimensions of the network will benefit as well of the regional transport and as well at the regional level. We have spotted established 8 sites that works in consistency and harmony and which manage in harmony the mobility between different regions. In terms of cargo and shipment, as you well know, it's another dimension other than the passenger side. There is markets that use the MEM instruments. These other are here. We have two regions that use the MEM infrastructure, circulating passengers and cargo. What we have, but we are now talking about more of logistic platform that links together all the network, rail with other infrastructure. In order to decongest the ports, the actual ports, and ease the surface between them. We have 9 sites. That was an area of 900 hectares, and all this platform from north to south, as well from east to west, west to west. So all this are the what will be the impacts of all these projects until 2040. We have like a line, a network of that covers 7,135 kilometers, which is double. When all the projects are completed, 87% of the population will be served, and the number of served cities will reach 43. While we are now at 23 for the ports, we have 12 ports in comparison with 6 current ports being served. 15 airports as well, while only 1 port is being served currently. And in terms of activities, 155 million passengers will be served, and on 2040, 175 million passengers and 34 million tons of goods. As well, we have mentioned as well also the impact on the accidents, road accidents, and the emissions of CO2, and as well the number of working days, and also and so forth. This is it was an overview of the last decade, and as well what are the perspectives for the future. I invite you now to watch a video that encapsulates or illustrates what has been achieved and what will be the future look like. What the future look like for Morocco.
This moment will ever have a touch in spirits. The 15th of November 2018, His Majesty King Mohammed VI inaugurates in the President of the French Republic, Mr. Emmanuel Macron, the Al Borak high-speed train linking the 2 big cities Tangier and Casablanca. Within the framework of the major building projects policy inspired by the vision and foresight of His Majesty the King, Al Borak has reconfigured the rail offer with a spectacular training effect by pulling up even the offers and services of conventional trains. Then Premier Sector, a major quantitative turn, and marks a real renewal. The commercial offer, the traveling concept, and finally, the customer journey are totally rethought. A new range of innovative products and services is designed. as well as more extensive transport plan and a pricing system, flexible, modular and accessible to all. Travelers now have access to a remote information, a welcome and listening, functionalities and amenities and stations, a stopover and boarding service and device for people with reduced mobility. Nothing was left to chance to offer. A new traveling experience and real pleasure to take the train. A year after its beginning, the challenge is raised and Al Borak, the icon of the national rail transport and pride of all Moroccans, has kept its promises. It incarnates incontestably the innovation and proximity, the friendliness, the Moroccanship and the hospitality. With more than 3 million travelers, close to 30 back and forth trips per day, a punctuality of 97% and a satisfaction rate of 92%, the consequences of Al Borak didn't wait, and they are multiples and tangible. Al Borak reconfigured the territories by bringing the north and center together and gave an unprecedented boost to different sectors of the economy, like tourism, especially for Tangier city, which has seen its nights and the increased number of tourism, or the use, because now it's possible to work in Tangier and live in Casablanca, Rabat or Kenitra. Thanks to this new mobility, real business opportunities have now been created, boosting transport, the tertiary sector, but also the regions and the commercial exchanges induced notably by the activity of the port of Tangier and the geostrategic positioning of the kingdom. In this wake, Al Borak has contributed to the transformation of cities crossed with ultra-contemporary train stations. Symbols of this mutation, these architectural masterpieces are now real places of life and contributors to urban development and economic activity, thus offering citizens a new way of living these spaces. Strong performance, Al Borak's first step of an ambitious master plan, is now preparing to conquer new territories for and in the service of an emerging Morocco.
So this is, we come to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Bonjour. Bon, j'aurai le plaisir de vous parler un peu des infrastructures.
I am delighted to speak about the logistics infrastructures in Morocco and the impacts of logistics infrastructures on the economic development, the relation between the economic development and infrastructure in general is not something to be demonstrated. It is right that it's always hard to assess the impacts of an investment plan and quantify them, but it is undoubtable that there is a positive and direct relation between infrastructures and economic development. When we are speaking about the airport's infrastructure, an airport has a specific structure, a privileged geographical position, a stable and open economy. So any expansion, construction or development of an airport, it's a project of economic and social transformation of the territory where it exists. This mission of building, maintaining airports is played by the National Office of Developing Airports. The first mission is the air navigation management. So it's all about determining and specifying the routes taken by airplanes and the several processes that are related to the journey of passengers and merchandise, so the process passengers and cargo take. Another mission is related to the International Academy of Civil Aviation that trains air controllers and pilots. Moreover, it takes part in the national plan for developing and maintaining operations of all Moroccan airports in billions spent on infrastructure and equipment. They also manage an industrial area that is specialized in aerospace. So it plays a strategic role by ensuring the protection of airplanes in our national airspace. It's an institution that evolves in a sector where there are international standards that we have to abide to. It's a vector of economic development in the areas where airports exist. It's a very important player in the African continent and in the International Council for Airports, and we are part of the International Airports Council in Africa, and our Director General is a Vice President of the Council of the Commission. In 2009, our airports were connected to 67 countries. We receive 57 airlines. 152 international airports are connected to Moroccan airports, and 1,587 weekly frequencies today. In terms of connected airports, we were at 143 international airports. Now the number has increased, and the programs allow us to expand and to go back to the numbers and percentages of 2019. We have 25 airports, including 19 for international traffic. There is a good distribution on the territory. All Moroccan regions are covered by at least one airport. In 2003, the capacity was 12 million passengers yearly. In 2010, we moved to 22 million passengers yearly, and the current capacity is 39 million. So this growth in capacity was allowed by a very ambitious program of investment. The Marrakesh airport with a 9 million capacity, a new terminal has been opened in 2016 and it increased the capacity by 4 million. Mohammed Sang 5 airport in 2009, the new terminal, 19, sorry. And with a new control tower for air navigation close to the airport, and we have inaugurated a second in 2019 that allows us to enhance the capacity of the Moroccan airspace. Also an airport in Galmim, Zagora and Rashidiyya, and in 2021 a new terminal was opened in Nador, and a domestic zone, small terminal for a domestic air flights. for domestic flights in 2021. The importance of these investments is not limited to the capacity and quality of service. It also allowed Moroccan enterprises to build experience in domains that can be used in other countries on the continent, and the Marrakesh airport has been built by a Moroccan architect and is one of the most beautiful airports in the world. And most of the people who were involved in the construction of this airport are from Morocco. So the current projects, we have a new terminal in the Rabat airport. We are looking forward to make it an example to be followed by other airports in terms of digitalization. And a new terminal in Tanger airport that will increase the airport capacity by 1.4 million per pax. And the renovation of the Agadir airport and the capacity development of Dakhla airport and of Tetuan airport as well. So we are looking forward to having a bigger airport that allows us to receive bigger airplanes. Also, the business aviation has been a big project for us because we tried as much as possible to turn this activity into a professional activity by managing business aviation, which is another new sector which has been outsourced. And currently these are being managed by two international operators that are well known in the field of managing business aviation. JETEX, which is an operator based in Dubai and that operates several airports in Europe and Africa. And Swissport Executive, which is a Swiss operator well known in the land services and airports. As the two business aviations and the development projects, JETEX will be opening terminals in Dakhla and Swissport a business aviation terminal in Tanger. As I said previously, we have an integrated industrial hub dedicated to the aeronautical industries located in the airport area of Morocco's leading airport. And this park of excellence has a total area of 206 hectares and offers multiple advantages to investors. It has a transport intermodality of modality of highways, airports, and railway station. And another development project of the second phase of the aeroport, a hotel zone with a conference hall close to the airport. And the development project of the logistics and freight zone of the airport. As to the development program of Moroccan freight platforms, this program is not very developed in Morocco and the numbers are quite modest. We have the cargo and everything that is being transported with the passengers. So the cargo represents 20%. And the other goods are transported in the suitcases of passengers. The general authority has put forward a scheme for developing freight platforms. This scheme has a position for centers of of aviation, including Casablanca, Tanger, Oujda, and Rabat. In Casablanca, there's almost no capacity. It's the platform that conducts more than 80% of flight in Morocco, and we have a study that is dedicated for that in order for it to become a proper flight zone with the possibility of operations related to transformation within the zone. So it's a study that is still ongoing, and it aims to make Casablanca a hub for transport for the national aviation company. So our ambition is to make flight in Casablanca a hub in terms of logistics. So the studies are still ongoing, and our goal is to have an integrator that can take care of the whole project. So Casablanca, Tanger, where capacity should be built, and this should be our priority for the duration of 2025-2030, and Rabat as well. So these are the long-term perspectives. The forecast for international air freight growth. So the biggest share of freight is made with Europe, but in the future, the air freight growth will focus more on Asia and the Middle East, with the growth in export compared to imports. In 2030, Asia will become our main destination. We have a development strategy for air freight that will allow us to ensure a growth in our activity, and sector strategies, mainly in terms of industrial development and foreign trade plans, in particular for high value-added products, such as priority sectors, automobile, and other airport infrastructure and services that should be modernized. So this is the Moroccan freight platforms. As you can see, the numbers are promising. In 2009, Casablanca Airport has concentrated about 94% of air cargo in Morocco. And the VAR has been important and continues despite of COVID-19. So 90,000 tons in Casablanca, which means that the biggest share of air freight is done in Casablanca. And the two projects, 2025, 2030, are focused on Casablanca and Tanger. So this is what I wanted to share with you as to the logistics infrastructures in Morocco for passengers and air freight. Thank you very much for listening.